Anna's hands trembled as she sat in the waiting room, staring blankly at the sterile white walls. The cold, harsh light of the hospital flickered above her, its buzzing noise a constant reminder of the grim reality she now faced. Her mother's emergency surgery had begun hours ago, and the wait was unbearable. The hours stretched on like an eternity, each passing minute pushing Anna deeper into a state of anxiety. Her mind was racing, but she couldn't find clarity. The moment her mother had collapsed, Anna's world had spiraled into chaos. The overwhelming financial burden of her mother's medical care, her own instability, and the strained relationship with her agency. It all seemed too much. The bills for her mother's treatment had been piling up for months, and Anna had been working herself to the bone, hoping against hope that she could hold everything together. But today felt like the end. She tried to calm her thoughts, but the pounding in her chest wouldn't relent. Her mind flashed back to the earlier phone call she'd received. Gordon, her boss at the agency, had been nothing short of cold. "I told you, Anna, no more excuses." Gordon's voice had thundered through the phone, each word like a slap to her face. "One more mistake and you're out. You've been warned." Anna had tried to explain. She had begged, her voice quivering with the desperation of a daughter afraid for her mother's life. But Gordon had cut her off without a second thought. "I don't want to hear it. Consider yourself fired. Pack up and don't expect a reference from us." The words had felt like a death sentence. Anna had already been struggling to stay afloat, and now this. She had lost her job, her last hope for a stable future. As she sat there, her eyes kept returning to her phone, the screen still displaying Gordon's last message. There was no turning back now. Her hands were shaking, but not from fear. She was numb, drowning in the realization that the world had just gotten a lot darker. When the nurse finally came to deliver the news that her mother's surgery had been a success, Anna couldn't help but feel the weight of the world pressing down on her chest. Relief was fleeting. As much as she wanted to collapse in gratitude, she knew better than to let herself feel too much. She had no time for sentiment, no time to mourn or celebrate. Her mother was still unconscious, and Anna was left to face the harsh reality of her life. She completed the hospital paperwork in a daze, her mind circling back to the disaster with Gordon and the uncertain future that awaited her. The nurse's sympathetic smile as she handed over the forms did nothing to ease the cold emptiness inside Anna. "There are payment plans available," the nurse had said gently, almost as if she understood how much Anna was holding back. "And we can discuss financial assistance options if needed." Anna nodded, numb to her surroundings, barely able to focus on the woman's words. He felt like a ghost, existing in a world where nothing made sense anymore. After spending some time with her mother, Anna knew she had to retrieve her things from the villa. The reality of losing her job was settling in, but there was no time for self-pity. She kissed her mother's forehead, her heart heavy with the knowledge that her world had just unraveled. The walk to the villa felt like a death march. With each step, the crushing weight of her failures pressed on her chest. The service entrance was her only option, and as she approached, Anna saw Keanu stepping out of his car. Their eyes met, and Anna immediately saw the mixture of concern and disappointment in his gaze. "Anna," Keanu said, his voice gentle but firm. "I was worried when you disappeared. Gordon told me what happened." The lump in Anna's throat was unbearable, but she fought to speak through it. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Reeves," she said, her voice breaking. "My mother. I had to." She trailed off, the words stuck in her throat. She had no excuse. "Not really." Keanu's expression softened, but before he could respond, Gordon appeared, storming over to them with a face flushed with rage. "I'm sorry, Mr. Reeves," Gordon sneered. "I'll talk to my staff about the quality of their service. I'll make sure this doesn't happen again." Without another word, Gordon turned on his heel and stormed off. Anna followed him to the back service area, the door slamming shut behind them with a finality that shook her to the core. "Let me make this clear." Gordon's voice was cold as he glared at Anna. "You're not welcome in my agency anymore. You've proven you're unreliable and unfit for this work." Anna flinched at the words, but she couldn't let herself break down, not yet. She had to stand her ground, even if it meant walking away from everything she had worked for. "I just came to collect my things," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "My uniform and shoes from earlier." Gordon scoffed. "They're by the security post. We had to put them outside because of the smell. Take them and go." As Anna retrieved her belongings, she felt Keanu's eyes on her. She wanted to explain everything, the struggles she had been hiding, the choices she had been forced to make, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she clutched the soiled clothes to her chest, a shield against the world that had just rejected her. "I apologize for letting you down, Mr. Reeves," she said softly, not daring to look him in the eye. "It's true what Gordon said, I wasn't fit for this kind of job. Thank you for the opportunity." And with that, Anna turned away, walking away from the villa, away from the life that had given her hope, and towards the uncertain future that awaited her. Anna's heart was heavy as she walked away from the villa, her footsteps dragging with the weight of all her failures. She couldn't shake the feeling that she'd lost something far greater than just a job. It wasn't only her livelihood that was slipping through her fingers. Her hope for a better life, the chance at stability she had clung to for so long, seemed to be evaporating before her eyes. As she walked back to her car, parked in the alley behind the Golden Fork, she glanced up at the sky. The harsh afternoon light seemed to mock her, casting long shadows over her path. Her mobile home, a place that had once felt like her only sanctuary, now felt like a prison. The familiar hum of the engine as she climbed into the driver's seat only served to amplify the silence surrounding her. The crushing weight of her situation settled in fully. Not only had she lost her job and alienated the agency, but now the looming threat of astronomical medical bills hung over her like a dark cloud. Her mother's surgery might have been a success, but the road to recovery was far from easy, and that was assuming Anna could even afford to help her get there. She sat in the car for what felt like an eternity, tears welling in her eyes. How could everything have fallen apart so quickly? How could she have been so stupid? She had been so close, Keanu Reeves's villa, the chance for a better life, and now it was all gone. Her thoughts turned to her mother. Anna had tried to shield her from the worst of their reality, but the truth was undeniable. The mounting debts, the medical bills, and the precariousness of their situation. Everything was on the verge of collapsing. And now she had nothing left to fight with. Anna's stomach growled, a harsh reminder of how little she had eaten that day. The small breakfast she had managed to prepare earlier seemed like a distant memory. She couldn't even remember the last time she'd had a proper meal. But the reality of her situation was clear. Survival came first. With a heavy heart, she grabbed the chipped melamine plate she had salvaged from the trash months ago, her constant companion in this life of hardship, and stepped out of the car. She had no choice but to head back to the Golden Forks alley. The food from the restaurant's trash was all she had. As she walked toward the bins, the familiar smell of discarded meals filled her nostrils. She had done this countless times, each time feeling more defeated than the last. But today something felt different, like the final straw in a life that had been full of impossible choices. Then a sleek car pulled up nearby. Anna froze in her tracks, her heart racing. She knew that car. The door opened and out stepped Keanu Reeves. She froze, not knowing what to do. In the space between them, Anna stood paralyzed by the overwhelming shame of her situation. Gone was the neatly uniformed maid he had met earlier. In her place stood a woman living on the streets, clutching a chipped plate, preparing to dig through garbage for her next meal. Keanu's eyes widened as he took in the scene before him. His gaze softened with confusion and concern, but there was no judgment in his eyes. "What are you doing here?" His voice was gentle, almost too kind for the situation. The question, though innocent, cut through Anna like a knife. She struggled to speak, but her voice was barely a whisper. "I live here." She gestured weakly toward her old sedan, its broken-down appearance a testament to the hardships she had been enduring. Keanu's eyes followed her motion, and understanding slowly dawned on him. He saw the car. He saw the pile of belongings visible through the windows. He put the pieces together. Before Anna could stop herself, the words came tumbling out. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed, her composure crumbling. "I didn't mean to lie to you. I needed the job so badly. My mother, she's sick. Leukemia. And now she had this emergency surgery. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. I left without saying anything because I was scared. And I didn't know what else to do. I've ruined everything." Keanu stood silent for a moment, absorbing her confession. His face softened, a flash of deep empathy crossing his features. Finally, he took a step toward her, his hand outstretched, but he hesitated. He was unsure how to offer comfort to a woman who had already lost so much. I had no idea, he said quietly, his voice filled with genuine sadness. Why didn't you tell me? Anna shook her head, tears blurring her vision. How could I? I was ashamed. I didn't want anyone to know how far I had fallen. And then when everything went wrong today, I just panicked. Keanu was silent for a few moments, clearly processing everything Anna had shared. When he spoke again, his voice was filled with a quiet determination that made Anna lift her gaze to meet his. Come with me, he said gently, gesturing toward his car. We need to talk. And this is no place for it. Anna hesitated. Her cautious nature was ingrained in her, but for the first time in a long while, there was a glimmer of hope rising within her. This wasn't just some empty offer. Keanu's voice held the weight of sincerity. She nodded slowly, uncertainty still lingering in her chest, but with a small, trembling step she followed him to his car, leaving the alley that had been her source of sustenance for so long. As the car's engine roared to life, Anna couldn't help but wonder what this unexpected turn of events would mean for her. Was this truly a lifeline, or just another brief respite before she had to face the harsh reality once more? The car was a world away from Anna's mobile home. The leather seats were soft and warm, the heat inside offering a welcome relief from the chilly air outside. As they drove, Anna felt herself starting to unravel. The walls she had built up around herself, the ones that had kept her silent and guarded for so long, were crumbling. She told Keanu everything. The leukemia diagnosis, the mounting medical bills that had led to her homelessness, the desperate measures she had taken just to survive. She poured her heart out, letting the tears flow freely. Her pain, her shame, all of it laid bare in the quiet confines of Keanu's car. When she explained about her mother's emergency blood clot situation, Keanu's demeanor shifted. His face grew serious, his eyes filled with empathy. I'm so sorry, Anna, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I understand more than you might think. My sister, we lost her to leukemia. Anna was taken aback. She had no idea. I'm sorry for your loss, she whispered, feeling a new depth of connection to this man who had unexpectedly shown her compassion. Keanu nodded, a sad smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. It's been a long time, but the pain never really goes away. That's why I started a cancer charity. I wanted to help other families going through what we did. As the car pulled up to the villa, Anna felt her heart begin to race. Keanu's words were a lifeline. Could this really be happening? Could he truly help her when she had nothing left to offer? Keanu parked his car in the driveway of the villa, the sleek black exterior contrasting with the warm, inviting lights inside. Anna sat frozen for a moment, unsure of what to expect next. The man who had once seemed so distant, so unreachable, now sat beside her with a quiet intensity that made her wonder if he truly understood the depth of her struggle. He turned to her with a gentle look. I know this is overwhelming, but you don't have to go through this alone. Anna blinked rapidly, trying to process the kindness in his voice. She was so used to fighting alone, to weathering the storm on her own. People had always let her down or disappeared when she needed them most. But Keanu, he was offering more than just words. His charity, his understanding, he was offering real help. Why are you doing this? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Keanu leaned back in his seat, glancing at her with a mix of sadness and determination. Because no one should have to suffer in silence. No one should have to feel like they have to carry the weight of the world alone. If I can help, I will. I know how it feels to lose everything. Anna felt a lump form in her throat, and before she could stop herself, she let out a sob, the tension of the past weeks finally releasing. She had been so afraid of asking for help, of being seen as weak, but here she was, crying in front of someone who didn't judge her, who only wanted to offer a way out. Keanu reached over, placing a hand gently on hers. It's okay to let go. You've been through too much and it's not your fault. They sat there for a few moments, the quiet sounds of the night filling the air, before Keanu spoke again, his voice calm but firm. Come inside. Let's figure out the next steps together. Inside the villa, the atmosphere was warm and serene, a stark contrast to the chaos of Anna's life. Keanu led her to a spacious sitting room where a roaring fire crackled in the hearth. The soft glow of the flames reflected in his eyes as he sat down across from her. I know you're probably feeling overwhelmed right now, he began, but this is just the beginning. We'll figure out how to get your mother the care she needs. We'll find a way to get you back on your feet. You're not alone in this anymore. Anna took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing heart. For the first time in months, she could feel the weight on her shoulders easing. Keanu's sincerity was like a balm to her wounded spirit. "What do I do?" she asked, her voice shaky. "I've already messed up so much. I don't even know where to start." Keanu smiled gently, his eyes full of understanding. "The first thing you need to do is take care of yourself. We'll get your finances in order, but your health and your peace of mind come first. You've been through hell, Anna. It's time to let go of the guilt." His words struck a chord deep inside her. The guilt had been eating away at her for so long. It was a constant reminder of her perceived failures, of everything she hadn't been able to fix. But for the first time, someone was telling her it was okay to not have all the answers. It was okay to lean on others. "Let me help you," Keanu continued. "You don't have to do this alone." Over the next few days, Keanu kept his word. He connected Anna with medical professionals who could help her mother. And through his charity, he was able to secure a financial grant that would cover the majority of her mother's treatment. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a start. A chance at a future that hadn't seemed possible just a week ago. Keanu also helped Anna find a new job. One with a steady paycheck and the potential for advancement. It was a far cry from the hotel work she had once clung to out of desperation, but it offered her the stability she had longed for. Despite the whirlwind of activity, Keanu always made time for Anna. He'd check in on her, offering advice and support, but more importantly, he listened. He didn't offer empty promises or platitudes. He offered real help, grounded in understanding and empathy. For the first time in ages, Anna allowed herself to breathe. She had a sense of hope she hadn't thought possible. The future, once a dark void of uncertainty, now seemed full of possibility. A few months later, Anna sat in a small office in a new company, her hands resting on a desk cluttered with paperwork. The job wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. More importantly, it allowed her to provide for her mother and herself. She had found a sense of security, something she hadn't realized she was missing until she had it back. Her mother was recovering well from the surgery, thanks to Keanu's charity and the medical team he had helped connect her with. Though the road to full recovery was long, Anna felt a renewed sense of purpose. She no longer had to scrape by in the shadows, constantly afraid of what the next day might bring. And Keanu? He had remained a constant presence in her life. He had given her a second chance, not just in terms of her career but in her outlook on life. He showed her that kindness wasn't just a luxury, it was something that could change lives. One evening, as Anna sat in her small apartment, a text message pinged on her phone. It was from Keanu. "How are you doing?" She smiled, her heart swelling with gratitude. She replied quickly, "Better than ever. Thank you." And for the first time in a long while, Anna believed it. Her journey wasn't over, but she was no longer walking it alone. She had a future, a chance to rebuild, and the strength to face whatever came next.